All right, court's back in session. We're back on the record. State of New Mexico versus Felipe Hernandez, D307 CR 2024-00009. Is the state ready?
Your Honor, our witnesses are here. We do have one issue we'd like to bring before the court before we proceed. And this is based on the defendant's opening statement and references to methamphetamine use in the neighborhood. Your Honor, the state is going to be asking that no references to Ms. Gomez's toxicology results be allowed into evidence in this case. There aren't any witnesses who can testify to it, and certainly the defendant didn't have any knowledge of what those were at the time of this incident, and based on what's viewed in the video, didn't have any concerns that the victim was under the influence at the time of this interaction.
Mr. Lahan.
Your Honor, a toxicology screen is required to be performed as part of an autopsy, which is required to be performed by the designated person from the Office of the Medical Investigator. They are required to prepare a report of that autopsy and toxicology report. Therefore, they become public records, Judge. They are public records. They are admissible. Her actions certainly are called into questions. It goes to all of the surrounding circumstances. It goes to her erratic behavior, which was not just noted on the video, but by the officer. It conforms to that. A trial we did a couple of years ago, or whenever it was, we did a murder trial involving a kid in front of a medical marijuana dispensary. And the toxicology came in that case. Obviously, it explains the behavior. It explains the defendant's reactions to that behavior.
I haven't seen an exhibit of a toxicology report offered by either side. So where's the written report?
I can submit that to the court.
But why wasn't it an exhibit marked for trial by either party? If you're going to use it, you got to have the report.
I was planning on just cross-examining the medical investigator about the results. I didn't necessarily intend to admit the entire report. That's usually not what's allowed. So, but if necessary, I can get the report in the toxicology and submit it to the court for review. But I wasn't planning on admitting it as an exhibit for to go back with the jury.
So you're going to question the medical examiner report?
Yes.
Regarding that. Mr. Medina?
Your Honor, our position is that those results constitute inadmissible hearsay.
Okay. When's the doctor coming in? Tomorrow?
The doctor's coming in tomorrow. Additionally, Your Honor, just as an additional point, during the defendant's interaction with Ms. Gomez, he never makes any indication that he believes that she's under the influence.
Understood. All right, doctor's coming in tomorrow. We'll take this up at the end of the day. This is why pretrial motion deadlines are in the local rule, so that you guys can do these motions 50 days before trial. We're not doing these while I've got a jury waiting. And if it's a motion in limine, then it should have been filed last week within 3 days or at least 2 days before trial. So we'll take this issue up at the end of the day.
Judge.
Mr. Lahan, I'm sorry.
Yes, I have two issues.
Yes.
First of all, Judge, with all due respect to the court, and maybe I'm just getting really old, but I don't believe that I use my full time on opening. I would ask that the times, the start and ending times for the state and the defense opening, the start and ending times to the state's opening and the defense opening be, I would ask the court to inquire of the court monitor for those.
We'll do that. Ms. Palmer, look it up when you have time, but I don't need it right now. I ran my stopwatch and I paused it when we had one issue during your opening. So Mr. Macias didn't use all his time. You were almost done with your time and then you stopped.
Well,
you think I gave them far more time than you did?
yes.
Oh,
And I object, and I need to preserve the objection before we get too far into the trial.
your objection's noted. We'll go back on the record and look that up and put it on the record.
And I will
Yes,
have
sir.
one final issue, Judge. The state has designated 0 expert witnesses in this case. And I'm concerned by their opening that they intend to ask their police officers lots of questions that call for expert opinions, Judge. Such as asking Lieutenant Bradley whether or not Mr. Hernandez was justified in using deadly force that day. They did not designate him as an expert. And so I would object, and I'm doing that now. I'm objecting, making a motion limiting to prohibit any expert opinions coming in from any of the state's witnesses because they failed to comply with Rule 501.
Mr. Medina, is the state intending to elicit expert testimony from any of its witnesses?
Your Honor, Agent Norris is an expert witness in the field of crime scene reconstruction, and I believe he was designated as such. As far as Lieutenant Bradley, if I had the opportunity to take this case back from the beginning, I probably would try and designate Lieutenant Bradley as an expert in the field of police use of force, as he is a use of force instructor. I don't intend to ask him the ultimate question in this case, which is, was this justified? But he certainly is qualified to, as a lieutenant at LCPD and a trainer in these matters, to review that video and point out to the jury the policy shortcomings in the defendant's actions.
Okay, but it's not an expert opinion on the issue of use of force.
No, Judge.
Okay. And you designated Norris? Do you remember when he was designated an expert witness?
If I could just have a moment here, Judge. This was the one that we. He certainly was, in our final trial witness list, is designated as an expert. And I'm trying to get the original witness list that we filed in front of me, but I'm having some internet problems here.
Is he going to be called today?
No, Your Honor, he'll be our last witness.
All right, we'll take up that issue at the end of the day, Mr. Lahan. Anything else, Mr. Lahan?
No.
All right. Are we ready to bring in the jury, Mr. Medina?
State's ready.
Defense?
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval, Ms. Swank, you need to find a seat or go into the overflow room. Please, ready to bring in the jury, bring in the jury. All rise for the jury. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome back. I hope everybody had a good lunch break. During the lunch break, raise your hand. Did anybody talk to you about this case? Raise your hand. Did you talk to anybody about this case? Raise your hand. Did anybody read any news accounts, see anything across their news feed, social media? Did you guys try to find out anything about this case during the lunch break? Raise your hand. Perfect. For the record, none of the jurors raised their hands to the court's questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to begin testimony in this case. Is the state ready to call their witness?
Yes, Your Honor, the state calls Isaac Renteria.
All right, please bring in Isaac Renteria.
Your Honor, this is our case agent, Lieutenant Bradley, that's joining us at council table.
Understood. Mr. Renteria, good afternoon. Would you raise your right hand? Do you promise or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth under penalty of law? Yes, sir. Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Medina, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, if you could please just get as close to that microphone as you can and talk right into the flat spot at the top. Begin with your name and spelling your last name for us.
My full name is Isaac Gabriel Renteria. Last name is Renteria.
Sir, how are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed with the Las Cruces Police Department.
And what assignments do you have?
Currently, I'm assigned as a detective at the Las Cruces Doña County Metro Narcotics Agency.
Okay. Detective Renteria, or is it Agent Renteria?
Agent
Agent Renteria. How long have you been with Las Cruces Police Department?
for a little over 7 years now,
Okay, and what year did you graduate the academy?
2018.
Okay. Agent Renteria, we're here to talk about an incident that occurred on or about October 3rd, 2023. Do you recall that day?
Yes, sir.
Were you on duty?
Yes, sir.
Can you please describe for the jury what you were wearing?
Yes, sir. I was wearing my my patrol uniform, our Class C uniform, which is the patrol over vest, blue in color, my patrol shirt, my patrol pants, and my duty belt.
Okay, so basically, were you in your police uniform?
Yes, sir.
Were you displaying your badge of office?
Yes, I was.
And what were you driving, sir?
I was driving a Ford Explorer, marked police unit.
Okay. Sir, do you remember responding to a call at Burley Court shortly before 5 a.m.?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Help the jury understand how you became involved in this case. How did this first come to your attention?
I was actually finishing my overtime shift. I was working grave shift overtime, and
Okay, so let me stop you right there. What shift were you on?
at the time, grave shift.
Okay, and you were working an overtime
Yes, sir.
shift?
Yes, sir.
Was it during your regular shift hours or something else?
Afterwards, so the shift I was assigned was swing shift, which was at the time 3:30 to 1:30 in the morning. Afterwards, I went in service with grave shift, which was 1:30 to about 5 a.m.
Okay. So you're working overtime, and where about in town were you?
I was at the intersection of Highway 70 and I-25.
Okay. And how did you first become aware that there was an incident on Burley Court?
I had heard over the radio on our unit radio, which would be channel 1, Officer Hernandez key up and advised that he was out with an individual at Burley Court and that he would be going to our secondary channel to run an individual. I kept my I kept my unit radio on channel 1. I kept my handheld radio on my vest on channel 2 so I could monitor what was going on both channels. On channel 2, I then heard Officer Hernandez key up and advise shots were fired. The channel then was secured, and shortly after I keyed up on channel 1 and advised officers that weren't monitoring what happened on channel 2 that shots were fired.
Okay. So you made reference to an Officer Hernandez. Do you see that person in court today?
Yes, sir.
Can you please describe what he's wearing and point out where he's seated for the jury?
The gentleman right over there, he's wearing a black blazer, blue shirt, glasses.
Right. Thank you, Agent Renteria. Your Honor, the state requests that the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
The record will reflect that Officer Renteria has identified the defendant, Felipe Hernandez.
Okay, so you've identified the defendant. Did you know the defendant prior to October 3rd, 2023?
Yes, I did.
And how did you know him?
He was my field training officer.
Okay. So when you started the academy, he was responsible for, explain to me what that means to be someone's field training officer.
So I initially met Officer Hernandez in the academy when he was a defensive tactics instructor. From there, after you graduate the academy, you get placed on the field training evaluation program, which was divvied up in 4 phases at the time. Officer Hernandez was my 3rd phase FTO, which would be my 3rd month of field training, and that was on grave shift.
Okay. So, all right, take me back to October 3rd, 2023. You described that you called out over the radio that the defendant had keyed over channel 2, shots fired. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what happened after that?
After that, officers began running lights and sirens to Officer Hernandez after they found out what his location was, which was there on Burley Court. I then did the same. I was not the first officer on scene. I showed up maybe 4 or 5 officers after the fact. I began walking up to sort of evaluate what was going on because at the time there were a lot of young officers that were working that shift. I began initially canvassing for any witnesses at the time. I then walked up to a vehicle where I observed officers conducting what appeared to be life-saving measures on a female on the floor. I then bypassed that and I saw Officer Hernandez, who was standing maybe approximately, I would say 15 to 20 feet away from the vehicle behind it. I then told Officer Hernandez, I was like, hey, let's get you off scene. We were still waiting for supervisors to arrive on scene. I then started to escort Officer Hernandez over to my marked patrol unit, which was parked off of Idaho, just in front of the entrance.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask you some clarifying questions here. So what time did this call out occur, if you remember?
I would say around 4 a.m., around that time frame. That's what I recall.
So early morning hours toward the end of your shift?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long from the call out until you arrived on scene?
Maybe about 5 minutes.
Okay. You arrive on scene, you described the scene that you saw, and you made contact with the defendant.
Yes, sir.
Did the defendant tell you anything at that time?
No, not at that time.
Okay. And then you made the decision to take the defendant off scene.
Yes, sir.
What's the reasoning behind that?
Just based off of like standard operating procedures, following an officer involved shooting, which would be for a partner officer to be with the officer that was involved in that shooting, to be with him after the fact, to essentially be with him during the investigation afterwards, with criminal investigation section coming in, the officer involved shooting team coming in, and to just be present with the officer.
Okay. And that was an initiative that you took, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You weren't assigned to do that by any supervisors?
No.
Okay. At any point during this, okay, I'm sorry, you make contact with the defendant. You decide you need to take him off scene. Is there like a special name for that procedure?
We refer to it as a buddy officer. That's how we refer to that position.
Okay, so, and you became the defendant's buddy officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've designated yourself as the buddy officer. What happened after that?
After that, there was some small conversation about Officer Hernandez's bicycle. It sort of just went like, hey, I need to get my bicycle. And I told the officers, leave it. It's part of the scene now. We're not going to mess with it. We're just going to leave it there. Officer Hernandez was behind me. I escorted him to my unit off Idaho, and that's when we came in contact with Sergeant Jesse Gonzalez. Sergeant Gonzalez asks Officer Hernandez if he's okay. There's some small conversation there, and then Sergeant Gonzalez then asked me, you're his buddy officer? I said yes, and he said, okay, go and take him back to the police station.
Okay. During that time, did the defendant say anything to you?
No.
Okay. So you're taking the defendant back to the station. What happens next?
After that, I receive a call. So we get back to my marked patrol unit. I turn my camera off. Sergeant Andrew Walker calls me over the phone, and he clarifies that I have Felipe in the vehicle. I tell him yes. He said, okay, are you guys going back to the police station? Yes. He then instructs us to download his Axon body camera immediately when we arrive to the police station. So I relay that. I tell that to Felipe. And when we arrive at the police station, we go forward with docking the camera, and then we proceed to the back. We call it CID briefing, but it's a briefing room back in the criminal investigation section. And we stand by for the officer involved shooting team there.
Okay. So there are some things that you mentioned that I want to get some clarification on. You said something about an Axon body camera.
Yes, sir.
What is that?
An Axon body camera is our standard patrol equipment. It's essentially a body camera that we utilize every time we come into contact with the public, whether it's for calls for service or if we're flagged down by individuals, just to record the interaction between the officer and the person.
Right. And you indicated that you had turned your camera off. Was your camera active during your initial interactions?
It was, yes, sir.
Okay. So you turned your camera off, and you said something about docking.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
So we have docking stations. They're located in the sergeant's office at the police station. more northern of the building. But essentially all it is just a station that you plug the camera in, it charges it, and also uploads the camera up to, we call it evidence.com. That's what it's called, which stores our body camera footage.
Okay, so this is like a physical action that has to happen. You have to dock the camera in order for it to upload the footage.
Yes, sir.
All right, based on your usage of Axon body cameras, is there any way to manipulate the footage between the time the body camera records it and when it gets docked?
No, sir.
Okay, and why is that?
Once you record the video footage is there essentially forever. There's nothing that a patrol officer or that we could do to mess with it or tamper with it or anything like that. The footage is there.
Okay, and you had described that you'd received direction from a sergeant to ensure that that process was done. Did you ensure that process was done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and after the defendant docked his camera to make sure that that footage got uploaded, what actions did you take next?
After that, we then proceeded to the back of the police station, again to the criminal investigation section's briefing room. And there we stood by for investigators to show up and begin their process of what they needed to do.
Okay. Your Honor, if I could just have a moment.
You may.
All right. Agent Renteria, I just want to ask you a quick question about your initial arrival on scene. You described that you saw some officers providing life-saving measures to a female on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Was the defendant involved in those life-saving measures or no?
No, sir.
Okay. And Your Honor, may I approach the witness with a physical demonstrative exhibit?
You may.
All right, Agent Renteria, I've handed you a demonstrative exhibit. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is that?
This is an Axon body camera.
And is that consistent with the Axon body cameras that LCPD was using at the time in 2023?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your Honor, may permission to publish this demonstrative to the jury?
You want to show it to him?
Yes, Judge.
Any objection, Mr. Lahan?
No objection.
Without objection, you may.
All right. So I'm just going to walk it in front of.
That's fine.
All right. So, and if I could take the doc cam, please. So I have this displayed here, Agent Renteria. I see a clip on the back here. Is that how it clips to your uniform?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if I was going to be using this out in the field, how would I turn it on?
So on the bottom of the camera, if you could flip it to your, I believe that'd be your left, there's a little line there on the bottom of the camera. That's its actual power button. So you'd hold that button and then.
Oh, you're talking about this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That button right there.
Okay.
So that's the actual power button. You would hold that maybe about 3 seconds. The camera begins, it's power up, showing the Axon emblem on the top screen. And then we'll say ready and we'll flash green, which indicates that it's ready to be used. And then that bigger button right in the middle where your thumb is, that's going to be the activation button.
Right here with the triangle on it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've used one of these the entire time you've been an officer with LCPD?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. I'm finished with the doc cam. And I don't have any further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Mr. Lahan, questions for Officer Renteria?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may. Good afternoon, Agent Renteria. How are you?
Good, how are you, sir?
Great. All right. So you first met my client Felipe Hernandez. I think you said you met him actually at your police academy. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I forget what was his job at your police academy?
At the time, I was a police cadet and he was a defensive tactics instructor.
And what did the defensive tactics instructor teach you cadets?
Grappling, how to subdue an individual that's resisting arrest. That's basically what the defensive tactics program was.
Is the academy something that you're required to complete before you become a certified peace officer?
Yes, sir.
So, and this was the city-run academy, is that right?
Yes, sir.
The City of Las Cruces Police Department Academy?
Yes, sir.
And they trusted somebody like Felipe Hernandez to teach the new guys defensive tactics, is that right?
Yes, sir. He was one of the instructor cadre.
How many years ago was that academy?
About 7 years ago. Maybe.
Based upon your experience in the field, did he teach you good tactics?
I mean, I would say so, sir. I'm
Nothing
No.
that's gotten you killed?
no, sir. No,
Okay.
sir.
All right. The body camera, we call it body camera, lapel camera. It's an axon camera. Is there any other term for that?
A whole ton. Body worn camera, things like that, sir.
Okay. And the action button, you say that the action button's on the front, but there's a power button. I assume at the start of your shift, you power the camera on. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then is it fair to say that it's kind of at a ready phase, not recording, but ready throughout the day, throughout the shift?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your department's policy requires that when an officer has an interaction with a civilian, a citizen, that they record that interaction. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we won't go into the reasons for that. I think they're fairly obvious, but it just documents the reality of what is occurring between two individuals in case there's an issue later about what was said or what was done. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. You said that you designated yourself the shoot buddy. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Shoot buddy. Was that a term that you made up on the spot, or is that kind of general terminology based upon prior shootings?
General terminology. Again, we refer to it as a buddy officer, but that is general terminology amongst officers.
And part of that is to make sure no evidence is destroyed, right?
Yes, sir.
That Felipe doesn't drive over the river and throw his Axon body camera out the door on the way back to the station. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But part of it's also, it's just compassion. It's basic human decency to provide somebody in a traumatic situation. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because as a matter of fact, somebody that's been involved in an officer-involved shooting, they're in shock, they're upset, they lose their state of mind almost. Is that correct?
To speculation.
Well, he
Lack of
can answer it.
foundation.
Hold on. Objections overruled. If he knows the answer or if he feels comfortable answering, he can answer the question.
In the aftermath of a shooting, it's common knowledge that somebody's in shock, or they may not be thinking straight, or a lot of different reasons that they're upset. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that something that you personally observed, or just, is that something you learned through training?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase it in terms of what?
Sure. The behavior of an officer who's just fired his gun in the line of duty and injured or killed somebody, that they're in shock, that they're not thinking correctly, that it's a good idea to have a human being with them. Is that something that you've observed personally in your years in the field, or is that just something academic from a textbook?
I would say it's something that's been observed, sir.
Was this your first time being somebody's shoot buddy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as far as not talking to Felipe about the incident, that's partly your call too, right? You're not there to interrogate him right then, right?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, your department has a very detailed protocol as to when an officer can actually be interviewed about the shooting. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I think your union negotiated that interview should take place no more than 72 hours after the shoot. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And the reason your union fought to protect your fellow police officers and give them that 72-hour period is because the shock of the situation, it takes a good 2-3 days before somebody's mind resets and they can be clear about the events of the shooting. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that is.
Okay. So it's not that Felipe didn't want to talk to you in the car. It's just everybody knows that that's something that just can't be done. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And did it appear to you that, well, you describe it in your own words. How did Felipe seem to you when you got to him?
He was quiet. I remember that, but it was understandable given the circumstances that had just taken place. Through my years of knowing Felipe, I know him to be kind of like a loud guy. He talks a lot. He's a funny dude.
Sure.
So he was quiet. And with everything that was going on, it was more of a, this is like, we need to follow our standard operating procedures and we need to go forth what we need to do next. When we got in the car and we started driving, I do recall there was small talk between us, just like reminiscent of when I was his officer trainee and he was my field training officer, little things like that, but it wasn't very long. And we got back to the police station and that was it. But I do recall him being fairly quiet.
And in addition to the uploading of the video camera, did you accompany Felipe Hernandez, for example, when he provided a breath sample into the intoxilizer?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, were you there with him when he went and took a drug test?
I was not, no.
Okay, you understand that's part of protocol for officer-involved shooting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did Felipe Hernandez refuse to do anything that you asked him to do in the aftermath of the shooting?
No, sir, not that I can recall.
Did it appear that he was trying to cover up or hide anything?
No.
Was he bragging about, hey, bro, I got one today?
No, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Medina, any redirect? Is that yours, Jeff? Probably.
When you were observing the defendant's behavior, did you note any physical injuries or anything like that?
No, sir.
And did you ask the defendant to do anything related to this investigation besides ensuring that he docked his camera the way that you'd been instructed?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Agent Renteria. I don't have any further questions for this witness at this time.
Mr. Law, nothing else?
No.
Do any members of the jury panel have questions for Agent Renteria before I excuse him? Not seeing any. Mr. Medina, may he be excused? You want him subject to recall?
He may be excused.
Mr. Lahan, any objection?
No.
Agent Renteria, your testimony is concluded in this case. You are excused and free to go, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Have a good day. Be safe.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
State's
Your
next
Honor.
witness. Miss.
Your Honor, could we have the bailiff refill the
Sure,
water for our
definitely.
next witness?
And actually, before we call the next witness, can we approach Judge?
Sure. right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, hopefully, 10 minutes at the most. Let you guys go into the jury room, stretch your legs. I hear the judge may have brought snacks for you guys. If they're not in there yet, I'll make sure they get in there. 5 minutes, maybe 10 at the most, and then we'll come back and hear some more testimony. All right? Please stand for this jury. Please be seated, everyone. Is there anybody here from the Albuquerque Journal? Photojournalist from the Albuquerque Journal? No? All right. All right, we'll be in recess, everybody, 10 minutes. All right. We're back on the record. Mr. Medina, you got your exhibit lined up?
We have the two parts of formerly stage one, and we can go with our next witness.
So you're ready with the exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor. We'll need more time. If we get to states 2 and states 3, we're good to go on states 1.
Gotcha. All right. Line them up. So you intend to play states 1 with this witness?
Yes, Judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the members of the jury come in, I'll make an announcement. The court expects that a video will be played during this witness's testimony. That video may be graphic to some individuals and may cause emotional outburst. So if you feel that you cannot sit here and watch the video, I would suggest you leave now so that you don't disrupt the proceedings. Thank you. All rise, Mr. Jury. Please be seated. Mr. Medina, your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Lieutenant Peter Bradley.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Bradley. Raise your right hand, please. Do you promise or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth under penalty of law? I do. Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Medina, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, if you could please begin by stating your name and spelling your last name for us.
My name is Peter James Bradley Jr., Bradley.
Sir, how are you currently employed?
I am a lieutenant with the Las Cruces Police Department, currently assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division.
And how long have you been with LCPD?
As of today, 18 years.
Okay. How many of those years have been in a supervisory capacity?
I would say at least 10.
Okay. And how many of those years have you been a lieutenant?
I promoted to lieutenant in 2020.
Okay. And how many of those years as a lieutenant have you been the lieutenant of investigations?
I transferred over to investigations in 2001, right near the end of 21-22.
Okay. Lieutenant Bradley, do you know the defendant in this case?
I do.
Can you please point out where Felipe Hernandez is seated and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's seated at the defense table with what I would describe as a black jacket, light blue shirt, and a blue tie.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant. Your Honor, the state requests that the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
All right. I just want to get a little bit more on your background. So in addition to being a supervisor there, do you instruct at the academy?
I do.
And what areas do you instruct?
I'm a use of force instructor and a firearms instructor.
Okay. So what kind of training do you have to be a use of force instructor?
So specifically for use of force, I've been certified both through the state of New Mexico in response to resistance. I've also been certified by the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center for the federal government.
Okay. And how many times have you taught use of force at, let's say, the Las Cruces Police Academy?
I can think of 2 separate academies that I taught use of force in, and I can think of 2 separate in-service trainings that I taught for people who are already commissioned officers.
Okay, what do you mean by in-service training?
So we are required to do use of force refreshers, and I taught 2 of the use of force refreshers for the in-service.
Okay, so when you describe yourself as a use of force instructor, what kind of force are we talking about here?
So specifically with use of force, we don't talk about the application. Specifically, we don't go into defensive tactics and how to do an arm bar or any of those. We talk about the legality of force being used.
Okay, and what tools do you use to teach use of force to cadets or commissioned officers?
So we do various things, but one of the things that I do specifically is we do a PowerPoint presentation where we talk about different case laws and we talk about how they apply to those officers. And then we also watch videos of different uses of force within our department to have those cadets analyze those videos and determine whether or not they believe this is a reasonable use of force.
Okay. So in the process of this teaching that you do you instruct the cadets on, you mentioned case law. Is there any specific case law that you instruct the cadets on?
So there's several case laws, but we generally focus on Graham v. Connor, which is a U.S. Supreme Court case law that is kind of the linchpin of all use of force. It's how you evaluate use of force. We also do Tennessee v. Gardner, which is a specifically deadly force on a fleeing felon. And then the last one that we tend to focus pretty heavily on is Scott v. Harris.
Okay, so we're going to get into that a little bit more later on, okay? You also indicated that you are a firearms instructor.
I am.
Okay, who do you instruct as a firearms instructor?
We do both academy firearms instruction, and then I also teach in-service classes, though I haven't taught in a while, and I do qualifications at the range.
All right, and how many times have you taught firearms at the academy?
I think I've assisted in probably 3 different academies teaching.
Okay, and how many times have you taught in-service trainings?
I can only think of 1 in-service training that I've taught for firearms.
Okay, and you indicated that you also do qualifications. What are qualifications?
So every year, the Las Cruces Police Department requires that officers do a day and night qual with their firearms, both their pistol and if they have an issued rifle, their rifle. I have done qualifications pretty much every year since I became a firearms instructor, and I think that was around 2012.
Okay. All right, Lieutenant, we heard a little bit about Axon and body-worn cameras. Do your duties involve anything specific as it relates to Axon or evidence.com?
Yes, I'm also one of the administrators for evidence.com.
What does it mean to be an administrator for evidence.com?
It gives us permissions and rights to restrict videos so that not everybody in the department can see those videos. It gives us the ability to pull audit trails off of videos. It gives us the ability to assign new users and change the permissions of those users.
Okay. When you became an administrator for Axon, are you trained in how that system operates?
Specific to which part, sir?
Specific to how videos are created, how they're recorded, and how they're stored.
So that's a discussion that you have at an administrative level, but it's also a discussion that they gave us. I remember very clearly, even when I had my camera issued to me for the first time.
Okay. So as part of your duties as an Axon administrator, are you able to verify the authenticity of videos that you're examining?
I am.
And how does that work?
So it works in kind of a twofold thing. One, as Agent Renteria was explaining, the camera only has the ability to record, mark specific times, and stop. You as the user or the end user, the officer in the field does not have the ability to delete anything from the camera. You can't pull the video from the camera. It has to be docked into an Axon docking station, or currently now it actually uploads automatically. That being said, the other part about it is as soon as I activate my body camera, I press that little button twice, the camera itself is embedded with what's called a hash. The easiest way to think about it would be like a fingerprint. It's a unique alphanumerical character that is assigned to that video. Axon itself assigns it the minute you start recording, and then as you upload it, verifies that the ad hash that was assigned to that video is the same ad hash, or not ad hash, but the hash rather, is the same numerical value when the video was uploaded. So if you remove time from it, if pixels were changed, it would create a new independent fingerprint.
Okay. So Lieutenant Bradley, let's talk about this incident on October 3rd, 2023.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did you become involved in this incident?
I believe around 4:40 in the morning, maybe a little bit after, I received a phone call from Sergeant Ricardo Porras. At the time, he was working for the Criminal Investigation Section as the on-call sergeant. He called to notify me that we had an officer-involved shooting in the Burley Court area.
Okay, and when you received that information, what actions did you take next?
So as part of being a lieutenant for the Criminal Investigation Section, I also work as our liaison for the Officer-Involved Incident Task Force as a supervisor. So I immediately got up, got dressed, and began driving towards Burley Court so that I could get on scene, figure out what the scene was, and then figure out how many of each different agency I'm going to need for the task force.
Okay, so you arrived at Burley Court, right?
Yes, sir.
And what actions did you take once you arrived there?
The first thing I did is I spoke with Sergeant Gonzalez, got a very rudimentary information about what had happened, looked over the scene. I then got my phone and started contacting both LCPD detectives and supervisors with New Mexico State Police, the New Mexico University Police Department, and the Doña Ana County Sheriff's Department so that I could request additional resources.
Now, was this a special thing that you did in this case, or does this happen every time there's an officer-involved shooting?
No, sir. Every time we have an officer-involved shooting, this is the procedure that the supervisor takes. It's what I do every time we have one. And what we do is I look at how many detectives I can get. We don't allow LCPD detectives to partner with other LCPD detectives to interview. Part of the officer-involved incident task force requires that we partner one of our detectives with somebody from a different agency to ensure that nobody's trying to hide anything. And so once I know how many resources I have, it allows me to figure out how many to request from my other agencies.
Okay, so those determinations that you made in this case?
Yes, I couldn't give you the exact count, but I made those determinations. The other thing was reaching out to New Mexico State Police. We generally request their crime scene unit to help us do the crime scene processing and scanning.
Okay, and what's the purpose behind having state police do that?
So we have state police do that for two reasons. One, it allows a secondary entity to come and do the scanning and all of the information. The other reasoning is we don't have the capability to live scan anything with the police department currently.
Okay. So in addition to obtaining and assessing the resources and calling out state police, what other actions did you take on scene there at Burley Court?
We went through everything. I checked to see if the body-worn camera video was on or had been uploaded yet. As soon as it was, we reviewed it on scene with agents from the state police along with our own personnel. A lot of that is for evidence gathering, so we can figure out which direction we're shooting, where we have potential evidence, where we might need to get things of that nature. I reached out to, at the time it was Detective Davis, who was going to be the case agent on this, and had him coordinate ensuring that there was a detective with a partner going to the police department to do what we refer to as round count. Basically, we take the officer who's involved in the shooting and we take them to the police department. They usually stay there with their buddy officer. From there, a detective from an outside agency and one of our detectives, along with our crime scene photographers, photograph that officer. They document any injuries that they tell them they have, and then they specifically go through each one of their magazines to figure out how many rounds are missing from their magazines.
Okay. So you indicated that you're able to check in real time on scene whether the video has been uploaded.
Yes, through my tablet, I'm able to get to evidence.com and I can see whether or not that video has been uploaded. Yeah,
So you were on scene the first time you saw
I was.
Officer Hernandez's or the defendant's lapel video.
I was.
Okay. As an Axon administrator, are you able to take additional steps to ensure that what was recorded was true and accurate?
So as an administrator, I can pull what's called the audit trail to ensure that those hash marks match. I can also, from that audit trail, will tell me when the camera was powered on, when exactly the recording started, when the buffering started, and it goes through all of those little breakdown steps for me.
Okay. So when you were examining the defendant's lapel cam video, were all of those things in order, the way that you would have expected them to be?
Yes, all of the body cam video was, all of the hashes and everything were in the same order that I expected to see.
Okay, so can you say with confidence that and I'm sorry, have you had the opportunity before today's hearing to review the defendant's lapel cam video?
I have watched that video multiple times, yes.
Okay. And based on everything you know about the process and the way that those cameras work and your job as an Axon administrator, are you able to say that what is depicted in State's Exhibit 1 is a fair and accurate recording of the defendant's actions that day?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Lieutenant Bradley. Your Honor, the state is at this time going to move for the admission of State's Exhibit number 1.
Mr. Lahan, without objection, State's Exhibit 1 is admitted into evidence.
And Your Honor, permission to publish.
You may publish State's Exhibit 1 to the jury. You're going to play it one time all the way through?
Yes, Your Honor, and then I'll have questions for Lieutenant Bradley about it as well.
That's fine. Josh, can we dim some lights for the monitors? It might make it easier for them to see.
And Your Honor, I've designated these as States 1A and 1B.
So they're two separate videos?
It's two separate files, but
Understood. 1A, 1B.
yes, Judge. Oh. My apologies, Your Honor. I'm going to unhook from the internet so that we don't get any distractions here. And we're going to start over with States 1A.
The audio.
Kicks in at 30 seconds.
Roll the window down. Leave your hands where I can see them. Okay, just leave your hands where I can see them. I don't know that. Roll your window down, ma'am. Open the door.
It's just a welcome.
Step over here. Step over here.
We're not doing nothing wrong, sir.
I'm looking for my keys. I can't find them. It's just a pinball gun.
Okay, what's in his waist right there?
That's a pinball gun.
No, that.
It's a paintball gun, sir.
Step out.
We're
Step out.
not wrong though.
Step out, ma'am.
I don't need to step out.
Step out now, or I'm gonna pull you out.
You cannot pull me out. Excuse me, call your sergeant. I want your
Come on.
sergeant. I want your sergeant.
Ma'am,
Don't touch me.
ma'am,
we're not doing
step
nothing.
out,
Don't
please.
touch me.
Step out.
Don't touch me.
Step
I
out.
want to record this right now.
Go ahead. Step out.
I want to record this.
Ma'am.
Don't touch me.
Step out.
No.
Come on, hurry up.
No.
Who are you here visiting?
I'm Butterfly.
It's too late to be visiting Butterfly.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I came out to look for my keys.
This is public housing, ma'am.
I
Step out.
understand that.
Step
No,
out.
no, sir. Don't touch me, sir.
Okay. You're gonna get tased.
No, you're not going to.
Step out then.
I'm going to
Sir,
call.
we're not
Step-
doing nothing
I'm
wrong.
not-
You are. I'm asking you to step out. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
Step
I'll
out.
Step out. Why don't you step out though?
I'm fucking talk to you. This guy has paintball guns. I don't know what else he has there.
It's just a
It
pinball.
doesn't matter, ma'am. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It still looks like a fucking gun, does it not?
No,
Yes, it does.
it's a laser gun.
Step over here, right here.
I'm looking
If
for
you
my
pull
keys so I
that
can
out
go
again,
home.
bro, we're gonna have fucking issues. Show me your face. Show me your face.
I'm not doing nothing, sir.
Jesus Garcia.
I'm not.
Holy fuck. You're back on the fucking
No,
property.
I'm not. I'm in the car.
You're on the property.
Sir, come
You're
on.
on the property.
I'm in the
Judge
car.
told you not to be here. Didn't I rip your ass last time?
Yeah, I know, but I'm not in the
You're
property.
gonna get a warrant
sir.
out for your fucking arrest.
What
Step over
the
here.
fuck?
Shut the fuck up. Come here, man. Come here.
Why?
There's what's going on. Okay?
What the fuck
This is public housing.
Okay.
Okay? There's rules and regulations that need to be fucking followed. Okay?
What the-
He's trespassed.
I didn't know.
Okay? He's trespassed. He has 5 warrants out for criminal trespassing. Okay? Judge already ripped his ass and told him not to be here. Guess what? He's here again. Okay? So again, I'm going to ask you, what are you doing here?
I'm looking for my keys. I was here visiting Butterfly.
At what time? What time did you leave at?
I just barely walked out the door and I'm looking for my keys because I can't find them anywhere. And my mother left me in the house.
Okay. So what is your name?
My name is Terry.
Is that really your name?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What's your last name?
Why?
Ma'am, I'm doing a fucking investigation. You have a trespasser here right
I
now.
didn't know that.
That's what I'm telling you. What is your last
Please
name?
go get my keys.
What is your last
Please go
name?
get my keys.
What is your last name?
It's Leva.
Okay. What is your date of birth? You
I
can do
I
this one
I
of two
really
ways.
don't have to answer this.
You do.
No, I don't.
You do.
Why?
You have to provide me with your name and date of birth. That is the
Why?
law. All right. If there's probable cause for as a crime being happening, he's already trespassed. That is my probable cause. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying, ma'am? Okay. How do you want to do this? I can either charge you.
Six.
Listen to me. Okay. Don't make things fucking difficult for me. Okay. I've been doing this for the last 3 years. Okay. I know this area. I know cars that are supposed to fucking be here and cars that aren't supposed to be here. Okay? So let's not make this fucking difficult because I will really, really make your life a living hell. Do you hear me? Okay, I will tow your car. As a matter of fact,
No, you don't call my car. I'm visiting her. She's allowed to have guests. No,
she's allowed to have guests at certain times, ma'am.
I did not know that. She did not tell me that.
Okay? Again, that's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Well, let me just
But
tell
if
she's
you
gonna
want to make things
go.
difficult,
No, I don't. want
okay?
to make things difficult.
so hear me out. Okay? And just be quiet for like 10
Okay,
seconds.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay?
Okay.
This is public housing.
Okay, I understand that.
There's rules and regulations that they
Okay.
sign when they first move
I
in.
understand. I'm not the one
Okay.
breaking the rules.
Ma'am,
She is
you
then.
keep obviously, okay? But still, you're here.
I tried
Okay?
to leave. I
It
looked
doesn't
for my
matter.
keys.
You're here and you don't live here. I know
Oh,
that for a
found him.
fact.
I found him.
Okay? So listen to me.
Okay.
Okay? And please just be quiet.
Okay.
Okay? You're trespassing, number 1.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Number 2, okay? You're not allowed to be here past certain hours.
I did not know that.
Listen to me. Okay? Can you just shut the fuck up, lady, for 10 fucking seconds?
Why are you talking to me?
Because
like
you don't
that?
listen. You don't listen. You're just like Jesus Garcia.
No,
You want to
I'm not.
argue all the time, okay? But you're not listening.
Can you just give me a
There's
trespass
rules.
ticket and I go?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Why not?
Okay? Number 1, this car isn't drivable.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that closes. Okay? Number 2,
It's not stolen. It's insured.
I didn't say it
it's
was stolen.
registered.
Okay? Okay? So you're trespassing though. Okay? There's
I
rules.
didn't know that.
I don't care if you know it or not. I'm telling you. And the fact that you're making it difficult, I'm asking you to fucking step out of the fucking car, that's resistant obstructing. Okay? Yeah. When I ask you to do something, you gotta step the fuck out. Okay? You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So next time you're here and you're visiting Butterfly at these strange fucking hours of the time, remember that. rules and regulations.
Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
can't be
I'm
here
sorry.
past certain fucking
I'm
hours.
sorry. I'm sorry.
This is an elderly, disabled community.
I'm sorry.
That's why these rules and regulations are here,
I'm sorry.
okay?
Yes.
So, again, what is your fucking name?
Be nice.
Yes, what's your name?
Hey,
Terry what?
Garcia.
Garcia, what's your date of birth?
That's his last name. I'm sorry. It's Terry
Yeah,
Leva.
I was gonna say, you just lied to me once
It's
already,
Terry
so
Leva.
you're
It's
about to
Terry
get put in
Leva. It's
handcuffs.
Terry Leva.
Okay, thank you. What is your date of birth?
3/27/78.
Terry with an Y or with an IE?
Wow.
What's your date of birth again?
3/27/78.
3/27/78. So let me ask you, do you have warrants? No?
I know.
Do you have a valid driver's license?
Yes, but not on this. I have a picture of it.
No, that's fine. So if I run your name, you're gonna have a valid driver's license. Okay. Jesus Garcia, be aware, I'm gonna put a warrant out for your arrest. You're back on the property when you're told not to be.
Is he gonna get arrested?
Listen to me. Listen to me, okay? Again, you make stupid fucking comments all the fucking time because you don't want to listen, okay? The judge told you, because I spoke to the judge the last time I put that warrant out, you're not to be on the property. Doesn't matter if you're in the fucking car, doesn't matter if you're flying over the fucking air, you're on the property, okay? I'm gonna put a warrant out for your arrest, okay? Be aware about who you hang out with, ma'am. Stand by real quick. 84 Central. 1396 Burley Court. I'll be out with two code 24 individuals. Going to jump to.
Can I get him to sit down?
You can have a seat now. Two. Here's 1 3. What's your date of birth again, Jesus Garcia? What's your date of birth? Uh-huh. 80 what? Stop. 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 80%. Shots fired. Shots fired. Stop. Stop. Get out. Get out. Sir, stop the car. Stop the car. Put the car in park. Put the car in park. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out so I can give you medical assistance. Get out. Get out.
This is fucked up, man.
84 start me fire 55, please.
Man.
Get out.
Sir, we weren't
Get out.
doing nothing.
You almost hit me with the car. Get out.
In the beginning,
Get out.
I was saying,
Get out.
oh, fuck, man. That's fucking crazy, man.
Stay with me. Stay with me.
Man.
Stay with me. Stay with me. You almost hit me with the car.
I know, but we were doing it in the beginning.
It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to find out what's going on here. And you're trespassed. I recognize you're trespassed. Doesn't matter. Stay with me. 84 Central. We're in front of 1356. 1356 Burley Court.
Terry. Terry. Terry, you okay?
No, shots fired on my part. She almost hit me with the car.
Fucking man. Come on, man, we weren't doing nothing. Terry. Oh. Terry. Terry.
Terry, stay with me, Terry. Terry, stay with me.
Terry. Wow.
Stay with me. Stay with me. Come on, stay with me. Stay with me. Huh? Yeah. So I'm trying to get her out, but I don't know where she's hit at. I dropped my flashlight over there. Okay. That's flashlight over there. No, we'll grab my flashlight real quick.
Was it just one?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. And Your Honor, we're going to proceed with States 1B.
You may publish States Exhibit 1B.
Thank you, Your Honor.
980 press real quick. That's it's just you want to go stand by with him over there?
Yeah. 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 Fuck, man. Yeah. Huh? Okay. Don't want to grab my bike, or I'll grab it.
I'll just have to leave it there, but just leave it there. No.
Well, it was actually over there, but I ended up moving it because I don't want to get stolen.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm still red, so.
Yeah, I am.
No, she just came to our door. She's running back up. And then,
Okay, you're gonna be with the buddy officer? Yeah, I got it. Okay, said he's already being contacted, so if you just wanna, I guess, take him down to the station, just wait there in the CID briefing, or, well, is it way down there?
my bike and everything's right over here in front of 1356 Burger Court. But I did move my bike though. When, well, I want to grab my bike and my flashlight and my notebook that hit the ground.
Okay,
So.
Yes, George.
If I shut off now, Tom?
Yeah, I got him as a buddy officer. I'm 1019 with him now. He's good to shut off his camera, right?
Shut his camera and start off loading it.
Okay.
And if you want to, I can't really tell you, but call me some reps.
Sure. Yeah. Back.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
And we're finished with the video for now. All right. All right, Lieutenant Bradley, you're pretty familiar with State's Exhibit 1, is that right?
I am, sir.
All right. So I just want to ask you some questions and just kind of get your thoughts on how this went down as a supervisor and as a trainer. Okay.
May we approach?
You may approach.
Right. Lieutenant Bradley, I want to ask you some questions about your department's policy.
Yes, sir.
Does your department have policy regarding creating a call card with central dispatch?
So we do, it's found under our, sorry.
Just
I'm sorry.
answer the question, Lieutenant Bradley.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Was such a policy in place on the date of this incident on October 3rd, 2023?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with what that policy was on that day?
I am.
Okay. Lieutenant Bradley, what was the department policy regarding the creation of central dispatch cards? I'm sorry. Let me back that up just for background. What's a central dispatch card?
So what we refer to as a card would be through central dispatch, you notify Mesilla Valley Regional Dispatch Authority, which is the consortium that handles our dispatch calls. And they create, we refer to it as a card, but it basically is a computer-aided dispatch that indicates you are out somewhere and what you're doing.
Okay. And what was the department's policy on the date of this incident with regard to creation of a contact card?
So by departmental policy, it is found under the traffic stop policy, but specifically under department policy, if you're going to be doing any kind of self-initiated activity where you are checking out with a vehicle, you are to give your location, vehicle description, and license plate.
Okay. And when is that supposed to occur?
So, like I said, it's found under the policy specifically for traffic stops. However, the training, the procedure through field training requires that that is done every time you leave the vehicle for a police-related activity.
All right. And is that supposed to happen at the onset of the contact or a certain period of time into the contact?
So generally speaking, you do it when it's feasible. You should do it at the start of that contact. However, if it's an emergency situation that you have to take immediate action on, it's understandable if it doesn't happen until you're able to. But as a general rule of thumb, it's notified before you make contact.
Okay. And what's the purpose of creating a central dispatch card?
It's an officer safety issue. If for whatever reason the officer hits the emergency button, calls and says they need help, nobody knows where that person is if there's not a card that lets you know.
Okay. So the directive is basically to ensure that if an officer needs help, they can get help.
Yes.
Okay. You're familiar with the contact card that was created in this case?
I am, yes.
Okay. On the video, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but on the video, it seems like the defendant calls out that he's checking out with 2 code 24 individuals. Did I hear that correctly?
He does.
Okay. What does code 24 mean?
Code 24 is police code for suspicious.
Okay. How far into this video, if you know, did the defendant create that contact card?
I believe it's around the 9-minute mark.
Okay. So there wasn't any indication from the video that he created any, or from your investigation into this case, that any contact card or call card to central dispatch was created prior to several minutes into this interaction?
That is correct.
Okay. Right. Does your, and again, I'm gonna ask one question here. Are you aware of whether Las Cruces Police Department had policy in place on October 3rd, 2023 with regard to when a citizen encounter can be initiated?
Our policy, there is policy about it, but it defines what those kind of contacts can be.
Okay. So are you familiar with what that policy says?
So it lists basically consensual.
So I'm sorry, Lieutenant. Are you familiar with what it says?
Yes.
Is it yes or no? Okay. And are you familiar with what it said on the date of this incident?
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of What kind of situations, based on your knowledge of the policy, can justify a citizen encounter?
So the policies,
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Renew my previous objection. for
Approach.
previous grounds.
You can approach. All right, for the record, the objection's overruled.
All right, Lieutenant, we were talking about the types of encounters that can justify a citizen encounter.
yes, sir.
So what types of things could justify a citizen encounter based on the policy in place on the date of this incident, October 3rd, 2023?
The Las Cruces Police Department policy specifies both consensual contacts and reasonable suspicion contacts.
Are those the only types of contacts allowed under policy?
I mean, there's also like calls for service and things of that nature, but
Okay.
specifically for an officer to make contact with a person outside of a call, those are the two that are in a law enforcement capacity would be a consensual contact or reasonable suspicion.
All right. Based on the policy that was in place on October 3rd of 2023, what is a consent encounter?
A consensual contact is when the police officer, I'll use myself as an example. If I go and make contact with a citizen who is not suspected of a crime, I don't have reasonable suspicion that they've committed a crime, they are free to leave at any time, but I'm going to speak with them and just have a conversation.
Okay. And you described another type of encounter as a reasonable suspicion encounter?
Yes.
Okay, based on the policy, what's a reasonable suspicion encounter?
The policy requires that it be supported through Terry v. Ohio, which is a U.S. Supreme Court case law, garnering reasonable suspicion and investigatory detention. A reasonable suspicion case law is when a police officer has an articulable set of facts or circumstances that would lead him to believe crime is afoot. And at that point in time, he is now stopping and talking to an individual who is no longer free to leave.
And those are the two types of self-initiated encounters supported by the policy.
That I can remember, yes.
Okay. All right. Lieutenant Bradley, we heard some testimony that the defendant was a defensive tactics instructor for Las Cruces Police Department. Does your office, or on the date of this incident, did your office have a policy about what type of training somebody needed to have in order to become a defensive tactics instructor?
There are requirements both through the department and through the state of New Mexico, but I don't know if they're specifically outlined in policy or if it's just that we adhere to what's required by New Mexico DPS.
Are you familiar with what those were on October 3rd, 2023?
You're required to go through and complete basically defensive tactics instructor's course and a general law enforcement instructor's course.
Okay. Have you taken that course on defensive tactics instructor?
I am not a defensive tactics instructor, so I have not.
All right. In your position as a police lieutenant, are you aware of what kind of training goes on in those defensive tactics instructors courses?
Specifically, instructor's courses, not really. I know what training is given to the officers after the fact because I go through it, but I don't know the specifics in the class.
Okay. All right. All right, Lieutenant Bradley, I want to ask you about policies in place on October 3rd, 2023 regarding somebody that's fleeing an officer. So are you aware of whether LCPD had a policy in place on October 3rd, 2023 regarding when somebody is fleeing a scene?
It would be covered, I believe, in a couple different places, but it would depend on what exactly you mean by fleeing the scene or what you're asking as far as what the officer does.
Okay. I mean, you've seen States Exhibit 1.
Yes.
Is there any part of the policy that would that you're familiar with that would have been in place on October 3rd, 2023 that would have given an officer guidance on what to do in a situation presented like the one we just watched in States Number 1?
It is discussed in the General Order 255, which is the use of force general order. It specifically discusses the use of deadly force on fleeing vehicles.
Okay.
Mr. Medina, I need to take a break. One of the jurors needs to take a break, so I apologize for the interruption. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be in recess for about 5 minutes. Please stand for this jury. Lieutenant Bradley, come on back. Off the record. Please be seated, everyone. Mr. Medina, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right. So Lieutenant Bradley, we're talking about policy violations or your knowledge of what Las Cruces Police Department policy was on October 3rd, 2023.
Yes, sir.
All right. Was there any policy that you're aware of that guided the way that officers interacted with the public during citizen encounters?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with what it is or what it was?
Yes, sir. It's the policy that goes over courtesy and rudeness.
Okay. What does the policy indicate? How does the policy direct an officer to behave?
With respect and courtesy to the public, it prohibits the use of profanities and things of that nature.
And that policy was in place on October 3rd, 2023?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you aware of whether LCPD had a policy regarding use of force on someone fleeing in a vehicle on October 3rd, 2023?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with what that policy says?
I am.
All right. What was the policy regarding use of deadly force against an individual that is fleeing from an officer?
So the use of deadly force for an individual fleeing from an officer is discussed in Tennessee v. Gardner in the policy, and specifically in a motor vehicle where that is the only means of assailant or of being assailant, where that is the only means or the only weapon used against the officer. It requires that the officer not put themselves in a position that they utilize cover and that they don't create that situation themselves.
Okay. Is there any, or was there any policy about, with regard to an officer's duty to render aid to somebody they came into contact with?
Yes, it's also in the use of force policy.
Okay. So tell me about, and I'm sorry, are you familiar with what that policy was on October 3rd, 2023?
I am.
What can you share with me about what that policy says?
Specifically after an officer involved shooting and any use of force, but it specifically says it again during the deadly force portion of the policy. It requires that officers render aid if feasible after an officer involved incident.
All right. All right, Lieutenant Bradley, so what I'm going to ask you is specifically regarding whether you're able to make this identification based on your understanding of the policy as it existed on October 3rd. Based on your understanding of the policy on October 3rd, would this stop have been classified as a reasonable suspicion stop or a consensual encounter?
Based on the information that Mr. Hernandez gives in his statement,
I'm
sorry, in the video.
Okay.
So not in the statement, in the video that Mr. Hernandez gives, speaking with Mrs. Gomez, there is not reasonable suspicion for a stop.
Okay. My question is specifically, would this have been a reasonable suspicion stop or a consent encounter stop?
A consensual encounter.
Okay. So, are you aware of whether the policies in place on October 3rd, 2023 broach the subject of any kind of use of force or threatened use of force during a consensual encounter?
As I recall, the policy in place by 2023, it is no longer a consensual encounter by policy once you threaten the use of force or start giving orders.
Okay. All right. If I could just have a second, Your Honor.
You may.
All right, Lieutenant Bradley, are you aware of any policy in the as it existed on October 3rd, 2023, regarding actions an officer might take that might lead to the use of force?
Can you rephrase the question,
Okay.
sir?
What is there any directive or any policy as it existed on October 3rd, 2024, that would prohibit an officer from taking unnecessary steps that would cause a use of force to be needed?
Yes.
Okay, what does that policy state?
It is specifically listed in the use of force policy, and it requires that officers do not do things to escalate the situation or cause the use of force to be necessary by putting themselves in a dangerous situation.
Mr. Medina, your question was a policy effective this October 3rd, 2024. Did you? Go ahead.
My apologies, Judge. Was that policy in place on October 3rd, 2023?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any portion of the policy that addresses stress levels?
Yes, the policy itself specifically indicates that officers need to understand and recognize their own stress level in a high stress situation and not allow themselves to let that situation devolve or become worse due to their high stress.
All right. Okay. Lieutenant Bradley, you've described your job kind of as the quarterback of this investigation. In addition to analyzing the video, did you have any further involvement with this investigation?
So specifically, as far as my involvement goes, we looked through the video, we analyzed it, I ensured that all of my personnel were in place. And then I worked as the liaison between ourselves and the chief of police in their office as far as what the status of the investigation was, whether or not we had an interview with our officer, and when we would be presenting this to the district attorney's office for their evaluation.
Okay. And did you oversee all of that procedure?
I did.
And Your Honor, I have one more topic to broach with this witness. I'd like to approach and make sure that I'm not going to run afoul of
Approach.
anything the court.
Approach. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state tenders the witness.
Mr. Lahan, do you have questions for Lieutenant Bradley?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant.
Sir.
If I'm not mistaken, your father was a cop too, right?
He was, sir.
He was in command, I think, by the time I met him years ago.
Interim chief, yes, sir.
Yeah, interim chief, yeah. All right, let's talk about de-escalation. You would agree that at the time, I'm not gonna play the old video again, but at the time that Officer Hernandez tells Ms. Gomez, sure, you can get back in the car, he is de-escalating. The language he uses is, yes, ma'am, go ahead, get back in the car.
I don't know if I would say he has de-escalated himself. I don't know if I would call that de-escalating the situation, sir.
But in terms of all this stuff about, oh, an officer needs to know when he's getting too excited, he needs to calm down. The way he addresses her, he calls her ma'am. And he allows her to get back in the car.
Are you asking my opinion of it, sir?
Sure.
In my opinion, that's the behavior of an officer who doesn't want to be complained on.
Okay. That an officer is de-escalating the situation. He's not arresting anybody, but he's just writing down some notes and you're saying that's not de-escalation.
No, sir.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So you would agree that a vehicle, when used to either scare somebody or actually injure them, is a deadly weapon in New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree that anybody struck with a vehicle intentionally, that would be a felony of battery against, or battery, aggravated battery, right? With a deadly weapon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as far as officers go, the law recognizes that they're entitled to heightened protection in terms of their personal safety. Isn't that right?
Would you clarify exactly what you're asking?
Sure. If I spit on Mr. Medina, that's a petty misdemeanor. If I spit on you and say, screw you, that's a felony, right?
Well, the screw you portion is not, but spitting on me is, yes.
And the reason isn't because we all just love officers and think that they should be treated specially. It's because anybody that is attacking an officer, who knows what they're going to do, right?
I don't think that's necessarily a fair thing to say, but if that's your analysis of it, sir.
And you seem like you understand the law, but you understand in New Mexico, a meaningful challenge to authority is a big deal.
It is a crime, yes.
Okay. And same with not rolling down the window when an officer approaches. That's resisting an officer.
That's only if the officer has a reason to be there, an articulable set of facts or circumstances to support reasonable suspicion.
Okay, are you saying that Officer Hernandez, as a bicycle officer, policing the lower income housing communities for the disabled and the elderly, that he's not allowed to check on people in those neighborhoods?
So we're talking about two different things. You're talking about checking on people,
Right?
and now you're also talking about giving orders.
Okay.
Those are two very different things, sir.
So he checks on these folks and he discovers Jesus Garcia, right?
Eventually, yes.
Okay. And Jesus Garcia, in the aftermath of all this, he ends up getting arrested on those warrants, right?
Yes.
So Officer Hernandez knew that Jesus Garcia had warrants for trespassing at that very property. And you're saying, oh, he should have just looked the other way.
No, what I'm saying is he should have taken enforcement action on Jesus Garcia, not on Ms. Gomez, who he had no articulable set of facts or circumstances that she had committed a crime.
And isn't your guidance or policy at LCPD that when two people are in a car and they're giving different stories or they might be a threat, that it's perfectly okay to separate driver and passenger?
Yes, you can separate the driver and passenger.
You don't want and that's for personal safety. You don't know what's going on. You don't want somebody getting you with a knife, right?
It's for officer safety, yes.
And also to separate them so if they're making up stories, you can catch them kind of in a lie, right?
That would be fair, sir.
Okay. Now, your policy GO 255, that's the parameters for use of deadly force. Is that right?
So General Order 255 covers all use of force, but deadly force is in there.
25504 deadly force. Is that right?
I would have to verify the exact alphanumeric, but that sounds right, yes.
Okay. And as somebody that teaches deadly force, you've taught that policy,
I have, sir.
including Tennessee versus Gardner,
Yes, sir.
which you referenced in your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Tennessee versus Gardner does allow for the shooting and its progeny. It does allow for the shooting of a fleeing suspect that's armed and dangerous, right?
If that suspect is an articulable, or that you can articulate that suspect and you have probable cause that suspect is an imminent danger to the officers or public, yes.
And here we have somebody who looked an officer right in the eye, didn't tell him to get out of the way or nothing, put her car into reverse, struck him with a vehicle on the side. He's left-handed, so it struck him on his left hand. And you're saying that wasn't a crime?
That's not at all what I'm saying, sir. I fully say, yes, that is likely aggravated battery on a peace officer. However, what I am saying.
I didn't ask you anything beyond that. All right, let's talk about the cursing. As part of use of force, or maybe in the defensive tactics training, officers are trained, I think they used to call it verbal judo. I don't know what they call it now, but there is some compliance technique in escalating your voice. Is that right?
Yes, you can escalate your voice.
Okay. To the point necessary to get somebody's attention. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Get them to focus on the officer, to pay attention, to take control of the situation, hopefully with words, right?
Yes.
And if that door had shut and Officer Hernandez said, "You folks go on your way that day," basically the situation had de-escalated, right? Would have de-escalated to that point. Confusing question. All right. So you would agree that there was a point where Officer Hernandez tells Miss Gomez, you can get back in the car.
Yes, sir.
She asks for permission and he grants it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It appeared that he was unaware that the car was backing up. Wouldn't you agree? Until it struck him?
I would say that that's a safe assumption, yes.
Okay. You would agree that neither the driver nor the passenger shouted any warning to Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, sir.
We've talked about the shock that happens when an officer's been involved in a tragedy like this. And the other officer testified that your department actually has a policy where officers can't even be interviewed by supervisors for like 2 days, 3 days. Is that right?
So it's not by supervisors, it's by the investigative section for the officer involved incident or through internal affairs. But yes, you are correct.
And the reason that the union fought so hard for that 3-day buffer is because science shows that people under shock are not able to remember details. They're not able to give accurate information, that there needs to be a buffer before somebody comes in and gives a formal statement.
Gonna object to the lack of foundation.
Objection sustained. Lay some foundation if you're gonna get into this type of.
Do you know why that 3-day buffer exists?
That 3-day buffer has been around since I've been a police officer. I don't know where it comes from, sir.
Okay, you would agree the 3-day buffer afforded to police officers before they can be interviewed, that's not accorded to the general public, right?
Generally speaking, no.
So if you catch me and I've just fired a gun and you say, "Hey buddy, you want to come here and talk, tell me what happened," and I confess, that's a good confession, right?
It is. We do certain things differently in investigations, but
Sure.
yes, you're Yes, sir.
Thanks for playing along. I understand I'm generalizing and I understand I'm using examples here. But the bottom line is that well, let me ask you this way. Have you ever interviewed an officer that's been involved in an officer-involved shooting?
Interviewed them? No, sir.
Have you ever talked to them immediately in the aftermath?
Yes.
Have you talked to them 3 days later?
Not in any kind of great detail.
5
no.
days later?
I've spoken to them afterwards, yes.
In the immediate aftermath, I mean, people are in shock. You've seen people in shock, correct?
I have seen some people, I think we are oversimplifying it. I have seen a lot of people involved in officer-involved shootings. I've personally been through it. I've seen a lot of it, and I can tell you that officers respond very differently, and there is no, this is the standard response. It varies so drastically.
Fair enough. I appreciate that because every human brain is different. We're all going to react to stresses different based on our way we were brought up, based on our genes and all that good stuff, right?
As far as I understand, yes.
But going back to this situation, there was absolutely nothing inappropriate about Officer Hernandez not immediately talking about the incident to his buddy officer. There's no violation of policy.
No, in fact, to go further into that, it is recommended the buddy officer does not discuss that.
That's why those car rides can be kind of quiet, right?
Exactly why that car ride is so quiet.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Mr. Medina, any redirect?
Yes, Judge.
You may.
All right. So Lieutenant Bradley, let's talk about the de-escalation. You were asked some questions about de-escalation on cross-examination. And you've seen the videos or the video. Was the defendant employing de-escalation techniques the way that your department is taught?
No, the defendant himself was the one escalating.
Okay. What are some examples that the jury might be able to see in the video that the defendant was actually escalating this situation?
So even after Ms. Gomez comes out of the vehicle and starts talking to him, he literally tells her, and I'm going to quote it, but he tells her to shut the fuck up, which is not in any way remotely necessary at that time. There's no threat of physical altercation. There's no anything. And we are just continually yelling. He's threatening to tow her vehicle. He actively is looking for reasons to tow her vehicle. He's checking the trunk lid to see if it goes, telling her it's an unsafe vehicle and he's not going to let her go. None of those are instances of de-escalation.
Okay. What do you make, if anything, of the defendant's statement when he first identifies the passenger, Jesus Garcia?
So he immediately identifies him. There's no reason to start cursing at him either. He's just kind of sitting in a vehicle. Now, as far as if you take that out again or you keep handling that, we're going to have problems, things like that. Even a curse word there could be reasonable. But once he identifies him by name and says Jesus fucking Garcia or Jesus Garcia, holy fucking shit, something to that extent, none of that is necessary. Furthermore, he knows that this person has warrants for his arrest, and the warrant itself commands a law enforcement officer to apprehend that person on contact.
Okay. And again, he didn't discover that the person in the passenger seat was Jesus Garcia until a couple minutes into this interaction. Isn't that right?
Yes, he'd already pulled Ms. Gomez out of the vehicle before he realized that that was Mr. Garcia.
Okay. So you were asked some questions about Tennessee v. Garner on your cross-examination, and you had mentioned something about an imminent threat.
Yes.
What does that mean, an imminent threat?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. That's not the standard in the next.
Objection sustained.
Very well. You had mentioned on cross-examination that Ms. Gomez may have committed an agbat upon a peace officer, or rather, you would indicate you had engaged in a hypothetical that somebody who strikes an officer with a car intentionally likely has committed aggravated battery on a peace officer. And then you said, however, and you were cut off. I'm here to ask you about the whatever.
So again, I would agree that as Ms. Gomez backs up, she strikes Officer Hernandez with the car door, that you can articulate the charge of aggravated battery on a peace officer, which is, it would be intellectually genuine to say that that is a potential. However, Ms. Gomez also pulls away from the officer at that point. And specifically what I was getting to is, as she is leaving, that officer is no longer in danger.
All right. There was some discussion on your cross-examination about officers being allowed to check on people and about how that's not the same as giving orders. What I want to ask you about is during citizen contacts, are officers allowed to, is it an officer's duty to enforce non-codified, say, rental agreement?
No, we with the police department, we generally speaking enforce law.
Okay, and what are the sources of law that you generally will look to when you're conducting police activity?
New Mexico State statute and Las Cruces City ordinance.
Okay. So is there anything that you've been made aware of that would allow an officer to use their time as a salaried commission peace officer to enforce terms of a rental agreement for somebody that, say, was living in public housing?
No, sir.
All right. You're a lieutenant at LCPD. Are you aware of whether the defendant was engaged in any official sanctioned specialized projects at the date on the date of this incident?
As I understand it, they were working a project. However, when we looked for documentation for that project, as it was relayed to me, there was not any specific documentation found.
Okay.
Generally speaking, projects like that would be written up on a,
Objection,
Sustained.
non-responsive.
Non-responsive. Mr. Medina, ask a question.
Yes, Your Honor. Where would those types of projects be? Where would they be memorialized?
so generally speaking, those projects will be listed in a problem-oriented police project. It's on a folder within the server. Within my section, we require an operations plan for any out of the ordinary police activity that we do in investigations.
All right. Right. So as part of your investigation, did you review any of those rental agreements?
I have seen the rental agreements, yes.
Okay. And during your investigation, were you made aware?
Your Honor, exceeds the scope of process.
Sustained. Ask another question.
Very well, Your Honor. The state's going to tender the witness.
Thank you. Mr. Lawon, any recross?
Yes. All right, in response to the state, you said Ms. Gomez is no longer a threat at that point. At the point that basically that Officer Hernandez starts firing, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, you would agree that in Barnes versus Felix, which came out this year, the Supreme Court said you have to look at the totality of the circumstances, not just the second or two before the shots, right?
absolutely, sir. Yes.
And the totality can even include prior contact with the person, correct?
Yes, sir.
You said that it's not an officer's job to enforce rental agreements. Of course not. But isn't it true if a rental agreement says, hey, don't be running a meth lab in your apartment? Does that mean LCPD can never investigate a meth lab in an apartment?
I'm going to object, Your Honor.
Same objection, but from defense, it wasn't in the scope of the original
Yes, Judge.
sustained. Ask another question, Mr. Bahan.
Okay. Back to the vehicle. If Ms. Gomez had shot Officer Hernandez, maybe just skimming him a little bit, maybe, you know, nothing that required hospital.
I'm gonna object. It's beyond the scope, and these are facts, not an evidence, calls for speculation.
Judge, it goes directly to the question about the point at the car is free to leave or no longer a threat. I'm simply changing car for gun.
Approach. All right, for the record, the objection is sustained. Mr. Lahan, ask another question, please.
Yes, you said, no record of a special project for, Officer Hernandez to be cruising around these, housing units, correct?
Not that we found, sir.
So it must have been a great shock that you found an officer on a bike signed off by his sergeant. That must have just been a shock to everybody in the whole department, right? That
Gonna
Felipe
object to
was
the
out there
form of the
riding around
question.
the housing complexes?
Hold on, let him finish asking the question, Mr. Medina, then you can make your objection. What's your objection? For the
Objection to the form, it's argumentative.
objection sustained. Rephrase the question, Mr. Lahan.
Are you saying it was a shock to everybody at the Las Cruces Police Department, every command officer, every police department patrol officer, every administrative officer, that on the morning of October 3rd, 2023, Officer Hernandez was performing community policing on Barley Court?
I'm
No,
gonna
sir, I
object.
can't articulate what every single police officer felt.
Okay, so the fact that you can't find the paperwork, I mean, stuff gets lost, right?
Gonna object, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
Objections overruled.
Stuff gets lost.
So generally speaking, these are not documents that are printed out and
The question
signed, they're
was stuff
digital
that
things.
doesn't-
No, Mr. Lahan. Do not interrupt the witness when he's responding. Let him respond. If you want to say it's non-responsive, that's fine, but
Yes,
do
Your Honor.
not interrupt the witness.
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Bradley, you may continue and complete your answer.
I would find it's a digital document that's filled out and put on a server. Generally, that wouldn't be lost. I wouldn't expect it to be.
But I want to make it clear, because the way the question was framed, that somehow Officer Hernandez was a rogue officer that morning. That's not the case, is it?
I don't think that's what I was insinuating, but no, sir.
I just want to make it clear. He was doing nothing wrong by being on Barley Court that morning, was he?
By riding his bike on Burley Court?
Yes,
No, sir.
thank you.
Mr. Medina, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Do any members of the jury have questions for Lieutenant Bradley before he's excused? Not seeing any. Lieutenant Bradley, you're the case agent, so oh, did I miss it? I'm sorry. Thank you, Roberto. Just make sure you put your seat number and sign or initial. You're in seat 12. Approach Mr. Medina, Mr. Long, Mr. Macias, if you wish to approach. Lieutenant Bradley, there's a question from a juror who reads as follows. If you know, does the Las Cruces Police Department give or administer yearly mental health checks of officers?
Yes, the Las Cruces Police Department has a police psychologist who comes and checks in with officers every year.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, as I stated earlier, there are some questions that are submitted that other considerations have to be taken into account, which may prevent those questions from being asked by the court. Mr. Medina, did you have any follow-up questions based on the one question asked to Lieutenant Bradley?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Lahan?
Just a quick follow-up.
On that question, yes.
Yes. So I assume if somebody says, hey, I'm not okay, the psychologist can go further and maybe disqualify them from duty?
I don't know how exactly that works. I'm not a police psychologist. I know they come in, they ask you, have you had any traumatic incidences? How has this last year been? And kind of go over that. I don't know what would happen if you answered and said, hey, I need help.
And just because we're talking about the topic, there's nothing in Officer Hernandez's background to suggest that he was mentally deficient or shouldn't have been a police officer.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. It's outside the scope.
Objection sustained. Anything else, Mr. Lahan?
No.
All right. Anything else from a jury member? None? All right, Lieutenant Bradley, you're the case agent, so you're allowed to return back to counsel's table. Mr. Mina, you want to call your next witness and go till 5, or you want to call him for tomorrow?
Your Honor, the next witness is going to be, excuse me. We would be calling Officer Alvarez, Your Honor. He was the first responding officer. I anticipate his questioning will be very short.
All right, call him in.
State calls Officer Christian Alvarez.
Officer Alvarez, come forward, please, right here to the witness box. Good afternoon. Before you sit down, would you do me the favor, raise your right hand? Do you promise or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, if you could please begin by stating your name and spelling your last name for us.
Officer Christian Alvarez, last name is Alvarez.
All right, Officer Alvarez, how are you currently employed?
With the Las Cruces Police Department,
And how long have you been with LCPD?
for a little over 3 years.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to ask you some questions about an incident that occurred on October 3rd, 2023. Do you recall that day?
Yes, sir.
Were you on duty?
Yes, sir.
Can you please describe for the court what you were wearing?
I was wearing my uniform, displaying my badge,
And what were you driving, sir?
my marked unit.
All right. Sir, did you have occasion on that day to come into contact? I'm sorry. Did you respond to an incident involving the defendant in this case, Felipe Hernandez?
Yes, sir.
Do you see Mr. Hernandez in court today?
Yes, sir.
Can you please point him out to the jury and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's sitting right there wearing a black suit with a blue tie.
Thank you, Officer Alvarez. Your Honor, the state requests that the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
Record will so reflect.
Thank you, Your Honor. How did you first become aware that there was an incident on Burley Court in the early morning hours of October 3rd, 2023?
Normally on my duty days on patrol, I'll be driving in my unit and I keep my handheld radio on the main channel, and my unit radio, I keep it on a separate channel where they other officers run individuals, vehicles, and just get basic information. I had heard on the channel in my unit, Officer Hernandez say shots fired.
Okay. So when you heard that call out over the radio, what actions did you take?
I can recall that I was on Alameda and Picacho, and when I heard that, I didn't know exactly how to get to the location where he was at, so I pulled out the GPS on my phone and made my way over there.
And where was the location that you made your way to?
It was on Burley Court.
Okay, is that location in Doña Ana County, New Mexico?
Yes, sir.
And the city of Las Cruces?
Yes, sir.
All right. What, did you see when you got to that location?
When I arrived, I had initially parked my unit and I saw a black vehicle with Mr. Hernandez standing at the driver's side and two people inside of the vehicle. I approached the vehicle and I saw a female in the driver's seat and a male in the passenger seat.
Okay. So I just want to very quickly, ask, what was the defendant doing when you got there?
He was standing at the driver's side door, looked like just looking inside of the vehicle.
All right. What was the female in the driver's seat? What was she doing?
She looked slumped over with her head just to the right side of her body.
Okay. And the male passenger in the vehicle, what was he doing?
He was just sitting there, just talking, saying a bunch of stuff to me for us to help her.
Okay. So when you arrived on scene, what actions did you take?
When I arrived, I asked what had happened because I had no idea what was going on. Right when I had asked what happened, I saw Mr. Hernandez and he kind of briefed me on what had happened. He told me that he was trying to get her out and he didn't know where she was hit. So at that point, I had pulled her out of the vehicle. And once I pulled her out of the vehicle, I took out my shears and I began cutting off her clothes and rendering aid to her.
All right. So I just want to ask you, some questions about removing her from the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Was this something that, you did yourself or did somebody help you?
I did it alone.
Okay. When you are engaging in this removal, can you describe the condition of the female driver?
It was pretty, I wouldn't say hard to remove her because she was smaller, but she just seemed pretty lifeless because her body was just limp when I was pulling her out.
Okay. And you described that you pulled her out, and did you lay her on the floor or something else?
I laid her on the ground.
Okay. And after you laid her on the ground, what actions did you take?
I began cutting off her clothes to see if I could see if there was a bullet hole on her body. And once I had cut off her clothes, I was able to locate one on the left side of her body.
Okay. Was it on the front, on the back?
It was on her back.
Okay. So you locate an injury. What did the injury look like?
I just had some blood and it was about, I would say, just a little bullet hole.
Okay. Was it round, square, triangle shaped, or something else?
That was round.
Okay. So after you're able to locate that injury on this female's back, left side of her back, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What actions did you take after that?
We were able to locate it. So myself and the assisting officer, I personally took out a chest seal and I placed that wall.
So what's a chest seal?
A chest seal is just a device that you place on victims that have either been shot or stabbed in their upper extremity to help with their breathing, just in case a lung has been collapsed or anything.
Okay. And you placed a chest seal, you placed it over the wound, or do you do something else with it?
I placed it over the wound.
All right. So after you've placed the chest seal, what actions did you take next?
After we had placed the chest seal, the other assisting officer began CPR. And then right after he started CPR for a moment, I took over CPR.
Okay. And how long, between you and the other officer, how long were you conducting CPR on the female?
I would say I at least did CPR for a minute until we realized that her bullet wound was still bleeding a lot from, I don't know if the chest seal wasn't sticking correctly, but then I placed another chest seal.
Okay. So is the chest seal designed to stop blood or air escaping or something else?
It's not meant to stop the blood. It's meant to help in case the lung is collapsed. It's to help breathe and keep air.
Okay. So you placed a second chest seal. What happened after that?
After we had placed a second chest seal, we were checking for a pulse a little bit longer, and that's when medical had arrived on scene and took over.
Okay. After medical arrived, what further actions did you take?
I stood by and just held scene security, made sure that the scene wasn't messed with or anybody arrived or left the scene that shouldn't have.
Okay. Did anything, while you were on scene, did anything like that occur?
No, sir.
Okay. Officer Alvarez, were you wearing a body cam on this date?
Yes, sir.
Was it activated and recording?
Yes, sir.
Have you had a chance to review your lapel cam before today's hearing?
Yes, sir.
And does your lapel cam fairly and accurately depict the events of that day?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor, the state is going to move for admission of State's Exhibit number 2.
Mr. Lahan,
Hey, we
approach?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Lahan. State's Exhibit 2 is admitted into evidence. You may publish to the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please go back to the.
Wait for the lights to.
You get that? Not, yeah. So I'm trying to get her out, but I don't know what she's here. I might lost the flashlight over there. Okay. Get the flashlight over, then we'll grab my flashlight.
Okay, I think she's hit on the side.
She's not, Terry. She's not, I don't think she's breathing, man.
Okay, we'll deal with that here in a bit.
Oh,
Is there any weapons in the car or anything like that?
just the paintball gun, man.
Okay, don't reach for it or anything, okay? We're gonna take her out.
We're doing anything.
Get her out.
What the fuck? Fuck, man. Terry.
All right. All right, thank you, Your Honor. I don't have any further questions for this witness at this
Thank you.
time.
Mr. Lahan, questions for Officer Alvarez?
No, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
All right. Any members of the jury have questions for Officer Alvarez? I don't see any hands going up. All right. May this witness be excused, Mr.
Yes, Your
Medina?
Honor.
Behind you. Yes. Mr. Medina, may I, yes,
Can I have permission to reopen my direct examination?
deny. You passed the witness. May he be excused? You want him subject to recall?
He can be excused, Your Honor.
Officer Alvarez, your testimony is completed in this case. Thank you so much. You are excused. Have a good day. Be safe.
Thank you.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2 minutes. Well, actually 1 minute and 45 seconds. I promise you to be done before 5. So we're ending right now. We're going to recess for the day. I'll have you come back at 8:15 tomorrow with the plan to start as soon as everybody's here ready to go. During the recess, again, follow my instructions. Do not discuss this case with anyone. Do not allow anyone to discuss the case with you. Please avoid any news accounts of this trial. Don't do any independent research on your own. Have a good evening, get some rest, and I will see you back here tomorrow at 8:15. Please stand for this jury. Please be seated, everyone. Thank you, Roberto. All right, Mr. Lahan, we had some matters that we were going to take up at the end of testimony today. One of the questions you had for the court regarding the amount of time, excuse me, during close or opening statements For the record, the court monitor has provided me the following information. Get to it. The state of New Mexico began opening statements at 11:31 and ended at 11:46. So yours openings 11:47 at the latest. We had a sidebar at 11:48, and then it ended just after 12:01. See, then 12:02:43 is when you stopped your opening. I will say for the record, I promised both parties 30 minutes. So I think I was premature in giving you your 5-minute warning. So here's my question to you, Mr. Lahan. Did you want to put on the record as far as the prejudice that you believe Mr. Hernandez has suffered because of the lack of additional time for opening statements?
Yes, Judge. The prejudice was I had not completed my opening. I have a pretty good sense of timing. I have a pretty good sense of where I need to go. I don't write out my openings verbatim, but I have them plugged in a certain way. I can say it visibly threw me off when the court notified me that I had 5 minutes left because my internal clock wasn't jiving with that. I don't even know what I said after that, Judge. I don't know what the remedy could be at this point. I'm just disappointed because I don't believe that my client had the benefit of me giving the best opening statement I could give to this jury at this trial. And the state didn't have that problem. They went until they naturally sat down. I was prompted to sit down. I think that was improper. It's not fair. It's unequal. It is what it is. I don't know what the remedy is, but I know it threw me off, Judge. So anyway.
Understood. What I will offer to the defense, Mr. Lahan, is an opportunity to give a second opening statement. You can choose to give it first thing tomorrow morning, or you can choose at a later time in trial if you feel that's a more appropriate time. I will give you this evening to think about that with that opportunity to do so. And I will give you 20 minutes to do that if you wish to take that first thing tomorrow morning, or if you choose to do it later in trial, I will give you that opportunity. If you do take that request, I will give an instruction to the jury and explain to the jury that my time counter was incorrect. And I did give you a 5-minute warning prior to having more time available to you. And that as a result, the court has offered Mr. Lahan an opportunity to give a second opening statement. Any questions about that?
No, Your Honor, not for me.
Mr. Medina or Mr. Macias, did either of you wish to state anything on the record regarding that?
Your Honor.
On the microphone.
You want me to come back?
No, wherever, that's fine, right there.
So you even informed the jury that Mr. Lahan could give an opening statement or he could reserve it to the beginning of his case. And if what you're saying is that at the beginning of his case, he'll now have another opportunity to give an opening statement, that's one thing, but to come forward in the morning, in the middle of the state's case, to give additional opening remarks, I don't think that that would be appropriate. If you reserve it to the natural point that he would have been able to give an opening and you give him the additional time, but if I calculated the time that you gave for me at 15 minutes, I'm not quite clear how much time Mr. Lahan had. So if you're trying to balance it out, then he has the additional whatever time between the time that he stopped and the end of the 15 minutes to equalize it with the state.
I understand, Mr. Macias, and your objection is noted as far as giving a second opening first thing tomorrow morning. I understand that. However, the court feels that in fairness to Mr. Lahan, because of the court's error, I think he should be allowed to choose whether he wants to give it first thing tomorrow morning or later in trial to do so. So it's so noted. As far as the time, if he started at 11:46 and 12:02, so that's 14, 15, 16 minutes, he'd have 14 minutes left. I'm going to give him an extra I'm gonna give him 20 if he wants it, as opposed to 14, because as he indicated, it threw him off. It threw off his ability to continue even what time he had left, the last 5 minutes. So I want to cure that with an additional time of up to 20 minutes. So that's my thinking of this, and that's my ruling. If you have anything else you want to put on the record, you may do so at this time, Mr. Macias.
Again, Your Honor, I believe if I calculated the time that you gave, the state's opening was at 15 minutes. And I believe that the original objection was that he should have had at least the amount of time that the state had.
No, I understood that he felt he didn't have his full 30 minutes. So that's what I understood. And I wrote it down here on my sticky. Every side gonna get 30 minutes for opening. That's what you asked for. Mr. Lon agreed. That's sufficient time for him. And based on what I've seen in the audio recording, I gave him a 5-minute warning too soon. So that's what I'm doing in this case. Anything else, Mr. Macias?
No, Your Honor, but just so I understand, how much more time are you giving him?
20 minutes if he wants it,
Thank you.
up to 20 minutes. There was a second matter we had put off for this afternoon. Mr. Medina, can you remind me?
Yes, Judge, we were talking about the designation of
Expert witness.
Clint Norris as an expert, and the state did file its amended list of state witnesses dated May 29th, 2024.
I have it.
With
11:32 a.m. He's designated as an expert witness on that witness list, Mr. Long.
Yes, Judge. My big argument was for Bradley, but for Norris, I understand he's going to talk about the crime scene reconstruction. I have no objection.
Okay. Were there any other topics, Mr. Medina, that we had put off for the end of the day?
I don't believe that we did, Your Honor.
Mr. Lahan?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're gonna recess for the day, 8. Be here at 8 o'clock tomorrow. If there's preliminary matters, let the court monitor or the bailiff know as soon as you come in, and I'll come in and take care of them before the jury starts showing up. If there are no preliminary matters, then we'll wait for the jury to come in, get situated, and get started at 8:15. Mr. Medina, make sure you have sufficient witnesses to go in the morning. The Dr. Dvorak, is she coming in at a specific time?
I anticipate she'll be here at 11. I know we're picking her up at 8, so 11, and basically as soon as she gets here, no matter where we are in the state's case, she'll be.
You want to call her out of order if necessary?
Yes, Judge.
Granted.
Thank you.
We'll get her testimony in before lunch and then go from there. Any other matters we need to take up, Mr. Medina?
There's nothing from the state. Thank
Mr.
you.
Lahan?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we're gonna recess now. Who's here on behalf of the decedent, Ms. Gomez? Raise your hand. Okay, those of you, please exit the courtroom now. Go directly to your vehicles, get in your vehicle and leave the parking lot so that other individuals can also leave. I appreciate that. Thank you. Raise your hand if you're here on behalf of Mr. Hernandez. Okay. Those of you, please stay here in the courtroom. Security will let you know once those individuals have left the parking lot and they're gone. This way you guys can also then leave. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'll let you guys leave first and have them stay. I appreciate your understanding with me on that. Everybody else is free to go. We're adjourned. We're in recess till tomorrow, everybody. Off the